Elise sat at her kitchen table, the morning light soft through the blinds, tracing the grain of the wood with her finger. It was a table Nathan had built, sturdy oak, scratched from years of crayon marks and spilled juice. She could still see him sanding it in their old garage, humming off-key, pausing to wink at her when he caught her watching. That was Nathan. Always building, always steady, until a rain-slicked highway stole him away 3 years ago. Now, the table held just her coffee mug and Ethan's half-finished math homework, a silent reminder of how life had shifted. Sundays, once loud with family, had become this. Quiet, hollow, a space she and Ethan navigated alone. After Nathan's accident, the family had closed ranks, at least at first. Clara, her sister-in-law, arrived with casseroles, her lavender perfume clinging to every hug. Margaret and Henry, her in-laws, insisted Elise stay near, calling her family, promising support. Neighbors left pies and cards, their kindness a fragile bridge over grief. But as months stretched into years, that bridge crumbled. Clara's visits stopped. Margaret's calls dwindled to texts, then nothing. Family dinners, once a weekly ritual of laughter and chaos, excluded Elise and Ethan, as if their presence stirred too much pain, or not enough use. Elise hadn't argued or demanded inclusion. She smiled, stayed quiet, believing patience would mend things. She was wrong. Ethan felt the absence most keenly. At 10, he carried his father's dimples and quiet curiosity, always observing, always hoping. "Mom," he asked one evening, his voice barely above the TV's hum, "why doesn't Grandma call us anymore?" Elise's throat tightened. "Maybe they're busy, sweetheart," she said, smoothing his hair. "Maybe they don't know how to talk about Dad." He nodded, but sadness settled into his eyes, a weight no child should bear. She saw him check the mailbox for cards that never came, linger at the window when cousins passed by. For him, she kept trying to rebuild what was slipping away. So when Clara texted out of the blue, *family dinner Sunday. Would be great to see you and Ethan *, Elise froze. The words felt polished, like a lure. She reread them, searching for warmth, but Ethan overheard, his face brightening. "Can we go, Mom? Please?" That decided it. They arrived early, Elise in a pressed dress, Ethan clutching a toy rocket. Clara's house sparkled, every cushion aligned, no trace of the mess kids usually leave. Clara greeted them, smile wide, cheek brushing Elise's, lavender sharp as ever. "You look amazing," she said, but her eyes darted, measuring. The house felt like a stage. Margaret sliced lemons in the kitchen, barely glancing up, her knife's rhythm drowning out Elise's hello. Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story. Henry nodded from the den, eyes glued to football. No one said they were glad she came. Elise offered to help with dinner. Clara handed her a salad bowl, then turned back to Margaret, their laughter a closed circle. Elise smiled anyway. She'd mastered that, smiling in places she didn't fit. Ethan ran to the kids' table, laughing with his cousin Noah, unaware of the chill Elise felt when she entered a room. Grandpa Joe was different. His cane tapped softly as he sat beside her, passing the bread. "I'm glad you came," he said quietly. "Ethan needs to know he belongs. You do too, even if they don't see it yet." His words steadied her, a warmth against the evening's edge. She looked at Ethan, his plate heaped with food, eyes full of hope. He didn't sense the shift in the air, the way conversations skirted her. For him, she thought, she could endure one night. Dinner unfolded in fragments. Elise reached for her own plate, unnoticed as Clara served others first. Talk buzzed, promotions, vacations, school, but no one asked about Ethan's drawings or Elisa's job. She was a guest at a party she hadn't been invited to, her presence tolerated, not welcomed. Only Joe broke the pattern, his steady gaze a reminder she wasn't invisible. Then came dessert's aftermath, the moment that cracked everything open. Clara stood, tapping her glass with a spoon, her smile practiced, almost regal. The room stilled, expectant. Elise straightened, thinking it might be a toast, a nod to family. Instead, Clara's voice sliced through. "I think we need to talk about the tension in this family," she said, sighing as if it hurt her. "I know I'm not the only one who's felt it, this awkwardness. We need to be honest about where it's coming from." Elise's chest tightened. She didn't understand, not yet. Clara's eyes flicked toward her, deliberate. "I'm not trying to stir drama," Clara continued, "but it's fair to say things haven't been the same since Elise rejoined us. We all grieved Nathan. We loved him. But some of us feel we're walking on eggshells, like we can't move forward." The words hit like a slap. Elise's face burned, her pulse loud. Clara named her as the problem, as if her existence disrupted their peace. "So," Clara said, smiling tightly, "let's just vote, no hard feelings. Should Elise be uninvited from future family events, for the sake of peace?" Silence swallowed the room. Then hands rose. Margaret's, Henry's, Noah's parents, cousins, spouses, even faces Elise barely knew. Every hand except Grandpa Joe's. She couldn't breathe, her body numb, the room tilting. Ethan, who'd come upstairs for more cake, stood at the table's edge, his rocket dangling. "Mom," he whispered, "why are they doing this?" His voice shattered her. Not because she lacked an answer, but because she had one she couldn't say. They didn't want her, and now they didn't want him. She forced a smile, lips trembling, and took his hand. "Thank you for the meal," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "We should be going." No one spoke as they left. Grandpa Joe stood, touching her shoulder. "You don't deserve this," he whispered. She nodded, guiding Ethan out, his hand tight in hers. He leaned against her as she buckled him in, silent. The drive home was a deep, bone-pressing quiet. That night, Elise sat awake, Ethan asleep beside her, clutching her sleeve like she might vanish. Clara's smile replayed, calculated, victorious. The vote wasn't impulsive. It was orchestrated, a culmination of months, maybe years, of pushing Elise aside. She'd played the grieving widow too long, shrinking to avoid conflict. But that vote wasn't just cruel. It was meant to erase her, to show Ethan his mother didn't belong. That, she couldn't allow. She slipped from bed, made tea she didn't touch, and opened her laptop. Old messages glared back. Clara's subtle cuts, Margaret's dismissals. "You don't need to come to Ethan's recital, Elise. It might be awkward." Another. "Just drop him off at the party. It's easier." She hadn't seen the pattern then, but now it was stark. A slow, polite erasure. She typed a list. The exclusions, the whispers about her parenting, the vote. It wasn't just personal. It was strategic, a campaign against her and Ethan. By morning, she'd found a law firm specializing in family harassment. Attorney Lena Rhodes listened, unflinching, as Elise poured out the story. "They don't expect you to push back," Lena said, her voice calm but sharp. "They're wrong," Elise replied. "I'm doing this for Ethan." Lena reviewed the messages and a surprise. Ethan's smartwatch, which had recorded the dinner. Clara's voice, clear. "She's too weak to fight back." Lena drafted a cease and desist letter, backed by evidence of targeted exclusion, emotional manipulation, and harm to a child. It warned of next steps: complaints to Child Protective Services, motions to limit family access to Ethan if the behavior persisted. 2 days later, the letters landed, one for each adult who'd raised their hand, sealed from Rhodes and Associates. Elise didn't announce them. She made breakfast, packed Ethan's lunch, drove him to school, a strange calm settling in her chest. By noon, her phone lit up. Margaret called, left no message. Henry texted, "We need to talk. This has gone too far." Clara sent two. "Seriously, a lawyer? What's wrong with you? Then, you're tearing this family apart." Elise didn't reply. The letters spoke, quoting Clara's words, citing the audio, detailing the vote's impact on Ethan. The closing hit hardest. This firm represents a mother who chose silence for family harmony. That silence is no longer a gift she's willing to give. The family went silent. No one defended the vote. No one questioned the audio. They knew what they'd done. A week later, a note arrived from Margaret, no return address. "I'm sorry for what happened. We didn't think you'd take it this far." Maybe we were wrong about you. Elise tucked it beside her wedding ring, unmoved. Grandpa Joe called, laughing softly. Your lawyer gave M heart attacks. Clara's quiet as a mouse. She deserves worse, Elise said. She does, Joe agreed. But I'm proud of you. Ethan asked that weekend. Are we going back to their house? Elise looked at him, this brave boy who'd seen too much cruelty. No, sweetheart, she said. Not for a while. He nodded, then smiled. Can we go to the beach instead? Yes, she said. The beach sounds perfect. 3 months later, no one had tried another vote. No invitations came, no apologies beyond Margaret's note. The silence grew, but it felt free. Elise didn't dread texts or brace for cold shoulders. Ethan was better than okay. He stopped asking about cousins, stopped checking the mailbox. They built new Sundays, donuts by the lake, Ethan sketching aliens, Elise sipping coffee. They talked about school, cartoons, space, whatever he wanted. No tension, just peace. Elise started therapy, a step she once thought was for the broken. Now she saw it was for those holding themselves together, refusing to bleed in silence. Her therapist named the vote, not just exclusion, but emotional abuse, bullying cloaked in smiles. It wasn't a sudden betrayal but the final act of a long disrespect. That clarity healed something deep, something Elise hadn't known was fractured. She didn't feel angry anymore. Healing made revenge irrelevant. She didn't want to ruin them. She wanted Ethan to see a mother who showed strength, not in shouting, but in leaving a room with dignity. Some might call her response extreme, just a vote. But anyone who sat in a room full of people pretending you don't exist knows how loud that silence is. She acted to set a boundary words couldn't. Family, she learned, wasn't sacred just because it was blood. Loyalty didn't mean enduring pain. Family was chosen, earned. Grandpa Joe came by Saturdays, bringing cookies, playing chess badly with Ethan. He never mentioned the others, and Elise didn't ask. Last week, Ethan asked, "Do you think they miss us?" She paused. "Maybe," she said. "But missing someone doesn't mean you treated them right." He nodded, returning to his coloring, wiser than most adults. Elise once thought her story was about being shut out. It wasn't. It was about walking away, realizing she hadn't lost a family, she'd escaped one. Now, she and Ethan were building something better, not louder or bigger, but kinder, safer, theirs. If you've ever been the quiet one, underestimated, choosing peace over chaos, know this: walking away isn't weakness. It's the loudest power there is.